Hello, Healing Juntas Comunidad. My name is Irene Ceguera, and I am the podcast host. I want to get into our disclaimers before we get started today. So, as usual, all the information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. So, please remember if you are in need of professional mental health support, please reach out. I can help you get connected, whether you can DM me, message me, whatever you prefer, but we can work together to get you connected to the appropriate mental health services. But as a reminder, this does not substitute professional services, okay? So that being said, let's get into this week's topic. We're going to be talking about self-care. Um, Really, we're going to be diving into what it is, what it looks like, what are some common misconceptions about self-care, um, and just how we can actually practice this in our day-to-day life and what that might look like. So the first thing that I found in my research, what I found really interesting, is the definition of self-care. Like, what does it actually mean to practice self-care? And according to Very Well Health, this is like a national platform for health and wellness. It defines self-care as the practice of taking care of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of life to promote health and wellness. And I really thought that was a beautiful way of describing um, what self-care is. It's really taking into account the whole person and every aspect of a person. And I thought that was really beautifully said. So, that being said, I think that leads us into some of the misconceptions of self-care. What does that look like for a lot of people? A lot of people think self-care can be just like the physical aspect, right? Getting our nails done, getting our hair done, getting a massage. Um, maybe going to the gym. These are very like physical or materialistic aspects of self-care. And don't get me wrong, your girl loves her to get her nails done. I love my monthly massages. I love getting my hair done. There's a lot of aspects of physical or materialistic aspects of self-care that I think are important because when we look good, we also feel good about ourselves. But I also want to acknowledge that self-care doesn't stop there. It extends far beyond just the materialistic or the physical. As the definition described, it very much encompasses multiple factors of our life. So the physical, the spiritual, um, the mental and emotional. So what we call this in kind of like the mental health realm is called BPSS. So bio or biological factors, psychological factors, social factors, and then the spiritual factors that all encompass what is self-care and what we look for when we actually assess clients. Do you meet these things? Do you have these kind of different levels of supports in your life? So let's break it down just a little bit more. When we talk about biological factors, we talk and applying it to self-care, we're talking about health, right? This is do you have any chronic conditions that we need to kind of put additional self-care practices in place? That might mean medication support, whether it be for physical or mental health concerns. Medication is a huge support for people, and it's a form of self-care because some of us have such severe mental health issues that taking our medication regularly and being medication compliant is a form of self-care because it allows us to be the best version of ourselves. I myself, I've taken medications for years. I take anti-anxiety and antidepressive medications. Um, and I will be the first one to say if your girl does not take her medications regularly, I am a hot mess. I am not the person you want to be around. I'm irritated easily. I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious. I swing really high into anxious and depressive bouts. So medication is a form of self-care for me. And it's not for everybody. I don't, I'm not an expert in medication, prescriptions or anything like that. But if it is something you're interested in, I highly recommend following up with your primary care physician or a psychiatrist to kind of get what your options are and just explore those things. Um, But yeah, so that's kind of like the biological factors. Something to consider when we talk about psychological factors. We talk about like mindfulness, engaging in breath work, practicing, therapy. Therapy can very much be one of those psychological factors. Going to therapy, speaking to somebody that's a professional, and getting the additional help that you may need, or just overall engaging in self-care that promotes your mental well-being, because this world is difficult and we always have to be doing 100 different things and wearing 100 different hats, just depending on the person we're with or the role that we play that day. Some people are parents, some people are leaders, some people um are just doing a bunch of different things. So making sure that your mental well-being is a priority for you is something that we definitely want to promote, and making sure that we're checking in with ourselves and our needs and our wants, and making sure that we feel like we're being taken care of, because you cannot pour out of an empty cup. I tell this to my clients all the time, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm terrible at this myself, and my therapist would tell you that I be lying straight out of my teeth sometimes, but I'm trying to practice this as well, to acknowledge within my body that, hey, am I pushing too far or am I pushing too fast? Do I need to take a step back and reassess where I'm going here? So that's kind of the psychological component. Let's talk about social now. So social is all the things that encompass your social circles, right? Family, friends, community. All of these things are what really drive a sense of connection within ourselves, and they're very important. So if let's say you want to think of it like a pie chart, right? We got family, we got friends, and we got community. And if you have a partner, your partner's getting a slice of that pie as well. And if any one of these pieces of the pie are out of balance, then we feel out of balance, because we cannot only have social time with our partner. We cannot only have family time. We cannot only serve or be of service or be within our community. The reason for that is because then we start to feel disproportionate in the energies we are giving off. We are a lot of times, these different aspects of the pie fill our cup. So when one is a lot bigger than another, it may not feel quite right internally. We might feel like, hey, like something just feels off. And it might be because you're not engaging in these other pieces of the pie as much as you may want or may need. So that's always something to consider when you're applying self-care, especially in our minority communities, because our social component is a huge aspect of many of our communities. We like to engage with other people. If you come from a Hispanic background like I do, I come from a Mexican family. We don't go a week without talking to each other, and when we do, it's like, oh my God, I haven't talked to my tia or my lita, or what's going on, are they okay? Like, I feel like something is missing inside me when I don't get to talk to my family on a regular basis. And again, that's going to vary based on different community members, and what your priorities are. Sometimes you can feel fine with just checking in with your family once a month, and that's perfectly cool. If that works for you, all power to you. But it's just something to be cognizant of, that there are aspects of our social circles that really do fill our cups. So if you're not getting enough of it, it might be something that you just need to check in on and say, hey, how can I make one more visit with my girlfriends this month? Or how can I, do a little family gathering? Or how can I prioritize date night with our partner this week or this month, right? So just doing a check-in and seeing where you land on that scale, and if you feel like the pieces of your pie are proportionate to what you need out of those relationships. And the last component is what we call spiritual. And it's called spiritual because this doesn't necessarily have to mean religious. And I want to emphasize that, because not all of us are religious. I'm non-denominational. I have been for many years. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and I just felt like the religion wasn't for me. Um, but I've also studied many different religions, and I've also been um, exposed to many different religions, and I just have found that religion for me doesn't speak the language that I speak. But I do find that I am a spiritual person. I feel that I'm most in tune with the world and with the universe in a sense when I'm out in nature, and that's a huge thing for me. So that's why I say spiritual, and that's why the BPSS model includes spirituality, because spiritualness extends far more than religion, but it also encompasses religion. So if you are a faith-based person, you're a Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, whatever religion you follow, those are vital aspects to many people's identity, and that's important to recognize. If that's where you find your sense of comfort and care and love is from your spirituality and your religion, um, we want to make sure that we are keeping note of that, because if you start to say not go to church as much, or you're not in tune with your spirituality, your spirituality as much as you usually are, that's one of the factors of self-care that we need to be able to recognize that might be lacking, and say, hey, maybe I do need to go to church a little more often, or maybe I do need to, some people are yogis and they find a lot of spiritual alignment within yoga. Hey, I need to go back into practicing my yoga and my spirituality there. In whatever form that comes for you, that's what we want to embrace and promote. So, again, just checking in with yourself. Do you feel like you're lacking in one of these areas? That's where you really want to promote some awareness and promote some of that self care in those areas. Um, but yeah, so the basics of that and why we it's important is because self-care in general in any of these areas, but especially all together, really help us deal with stress and help us prevent burnout, especially as if you have a demanding job, right? If you are face to face with a lot of people, you constantly engaging in you kind of have to engage in this give and take of energy with other humans on a constant basis. That is really difficult work. No matter what field or what area you may practice in, you can be a janitor, you could be a teacher, you could be a practitioner, you can be a lawyer. These are very heavy because you're constantly interacting with people, and there's a lot of give and take of energy. So I always like to make sure that we're understanding what that takes from the body, right? It is a very heavy load to constantly be of service in some way to others, even if there is a reciprocity to it, right? Like you are getting something out of it as well. It doesn't matter. We are still giving of something, and that can be heavy on the body and on the mind. So that can really affect us in a lot of different ways. Short term, it can cause irritability, right? We can just be a little bit more on edge. We're not sleeping well at night. We got more fatigue, body pains, little things like that can start to we can start to pick up on those things. Um, and then you start to see the long-term effects of things where you're starting to have chronic conditions. I myself, I have chronic migraines, and I find that the more stressed I am, the more obvious it is that my migraines pick up as well. So there's a very intense correlation between stress and the effects on our body. Mental health as well, right? When we burn ourselves at both ends of the stick, what's going to happen? Your mental health is going to decline, right? You're going to feel more anxious. You're going to feel more depressed. You're going to feel all these things that just kind of suck and they don't feel very good. So that's why it's so important to engage in self care practices to make sure that we're keeping up with our minds and with our bodies and making sure that we step in before it ever gets to the point where now we're like fully burnt out and there's no coming back from that. Or if you do, you gotta really invest time, energy, money, therapy, medications, all that stuff because it takes a lot of work to get out of the pit of a hole versus catching yourself before you fall into the pit of the hole, right? So, and there's people on both ends of that spectrum. I found myself falling and I found myself deep in that hole. So it just depends on where you are in life. And neither one are to say that it's not you are not able to get out of it. because that's not what I mean by any stretch of the imagination. Wherever you are, there is help, there is support, there's ways to get ahead, and I want to encourage you to reach out for support if you ever feel like you are in the deep end of that hole, right? Um, but what I mean by embracing some of these self-care practices is really trying our best to put the tools and support in place that we don't ever have to get to that point. And if we do, we are better prepared to manage and to deal with it versus just being stuck there and feeling like there's no way out. Right? Because that sucks. It genuinely sucks. I've been there. I've helped clients that have been there, and it's not a place that I want anybody to be. So if we can start to implement some of these things in our everyday life, do these little check-ins with ourselves to see what areas of our life are kind of out of whack and need some additional self-care practices to kind of get you back in balance. That's huge. We can do a lot of work with just implementing some self-care practices. So, let's get into what self-care is, right? Because I'm talking and talking and talking about self-care, and you might not have any idea what that actually looks like in practice. So I created a couple lists. So the general self-care tools, just a couple of them that you can just do every single day, right? Every day to promote your health and well-being, staying hydrated and staying nourished. Those are the two big ones. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Our body needs hydration. It needs to be fulfilled. It needs H2O, right? We just need it. It's how we survive, but not just the basic like drinking one bottle of water. Try your best to stay hydrated throughout the day, because that's going to also help with a lot of health and mental health issues. Just basically by staying hydrated. Same thing with nourishment, making sure that you are eating a proper meal, getting your fruits, getting your veggies. I am the queen of I like fast food, but I try my best if I am getting fast food to get something that might have some veggies, some fruits in it. Again, I am not perfect by any means. I am working really hard on it. But it's a way that we can slowly start to step into practicing self-care, throwing in extra fruit per day, throwing in extra veggie. Don't order an extra large size, order a medium, right? Like little things that we can do to start bettering our health. Rest. Rest is a huge one. Making sure you're getting enough sleep. I know this is a huge problem for a lot of people where we're not really sleeping the appropriate amount of time. For me, if I get anything less than 6 hours, I am a grouch. I am not the person you want to be around. I can promise you that. I'm just I cannot function well on less than 6 hours of sleep. Um, but this can go both ways, right? You can either be sleeping too little or you can be sleeping too much. If we're sleeping too little, that might be a sign of something that needs to be checked out with your doctor. If you're sleeping too much, say anything over like 9, 10, 11 hours, we might be in the depressive territory. It might be worth it to talk to your primary care as well. See if there's something that can be done to help support you. It could be side effects of medication. There's a whole host of issues, so make sure you're getting checked out if you notice that any of these things are happening, right? Sleeping way too little, sleeping way too much, we want to check in on that. Um, Another general self-care tool is movement, right? Get your body moving. I always tell my clients, some people want to jump into the deep end. They want to be working out 5 days a week. They want to be doing at least 30 minutes a day, right? The recommended amount. Of course, that would be fantastic if we could do that. But sometimes we can't bring ourselves to do that. So when I talk to my clients that are starting from nothing, I always recommend 5 minutes. If you can move your body in 5 minutes, throw on your favorite song, dance in your living room, clean your house, go on a 5-minute walk with your fur babies, whatever it is, start with 5, 10 minutes. If that feels good and you feel empowered and encouraged to continue on past the 5 minutes, fantastic. But the baseline is 5 minutes. If that's all you can get yourself to do, it was still better than what we started with yesterday. And that's what we're looking for. It's progress over perfection. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't feel like you got to jump, into the deep end and do all these things and be perfect and, we're the picture of health. That's not realistic. Give your body the movement it needs, but be realistic and kind to your body and to your mind in that process. Um, Additionally, what we were talking about earlier, staying connected, right? Get connected with your social circles. Hey, I haven't talked to mom in a couple days. I'm gonna give her a call. Hey, I haven't, hung out with the girlfriend in a minute. Let me call her, see if she's available to go get some coffee. Whatever it is, make sure you're getting connected with the people that you care about and that you love, because that feeds back into our bodies and our minds and being able to take care of ourselves. The last one for the general tools is breath work and reflection. So, taking time to just sit there and take a couple deep breaths and just be with yourself and see what comes up for you. Um, I can't tell you how many times when I've practiced this with clients, they're like, I don't think I've ever just kind of sat there and just sat with whatever came up instead of trying to push it down or push it out, just sitting with what comes up for them. Um, there's a lot of different emotions that might come up. Some of them not great. They don't feel great all the time. But the process of this is actually just sitting with it and letting it be and not labeling any emotion as good or bad. They just are. They're just there. And that doesn't have to be long. If it's super distressing, it's a minute, 2 minutes, and then you can build your way up to doing more, more length of time. But just sitting there and breathing and reflecting within yourself. And I'm going to show you guys a quick breathing technique that I use myself quite often. It's kind of the 4x4. So you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. You're going to hold for 4 seconds. You're going to exhale for 4 seconds, and then you're going to repeat it 4 times. It's just a quick and easy thing. Like, think of the In-N-Out burger, right? Like a 4x4, like the crazy big ones. So let's practice it together. For those that are on, watching it on YouTube, you'll be able to see me do this. But I will kind of narrate it for the podcast listeners. So we're gonna inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. And then repeat. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And then again, you'll just repeat it 4 times. Um, and sometimes that just gives us a little break that we need to kind of, like I said, unwind, reflect, give ourselves a moment for ourselves. You can do that throughout the day, whenever you need it, right? That's just one of the things I call one of the tools in the toolbox. So whenever you need something, you reach into the toolbox. Some things might work the first time, sometimes they might not. You might have to reach back into the toolbox and try another tool. That is perfectly fine. Don't feel like, any particular kind of way about it. Sometimes one is not going to work. Sometimes we need to try every tool in the damn toolbox, and that's okay too, right? So be kind to yourself during this process. Um, this is going to be specifically self-care about you. So these categories are about, the first one is about setting boundaries. For those of you that don't know what boundaries are or how to implement it, that's perfectly fine. We are going to talk about boundaries in a whole nother podcast episode where we take a deep dive into boundaries. But essentially, the basics is learning how to say no to things that don't serve us. And that sounds really kind of like, ew, right? Like you're being selfish. I don't believe in that. There are times where we need to say no for our mental health and our well being, and that is a form of self care. Again, we're going to be doing a deep dive in that in a future episode, so stay tuned for that. Um, a little unplug and reset. This means social media. This means enjoying in person moments. This means, excuse me, it means setting time aside where we are unplugging from all the virtual stuff in our world, right? All the phones, the tablets, the TVs, and intentionally spending time within ourselves. Um, Read a book, go outside, play with the dogs, breathe in the fresh air, get some sun on your face, whatever it is, but unplug from the virtual, step into the reality. Even if it's only for a few minutes, this can do wonders for our mental and our physical health. Another way we can practice self-care is creative, being creative. I do this by coloring. I'm not a great colorer, but I love coloring. It helps me just kind of like stop with the wandering thoughts, stop all the things that are running through my mind, and just kind of focus in on something that requires a tactile, right? Like a physical element of touch. I have to touch things. I have to visualize things. I have to, understand what colors I want to use. What image am I trying to, right? This is something that I use as self-care. Also listening to music. Sometimes I would literally just put my headphones on and listen to music for hours. That might not work for you. It might work for you. Whatever it is, find something that is a creative outlet for you. That could be a great resource for practicing self-care. Um, this is my favorite one. I love treating yourself. So this could be all kinds of different things. Obviously, in moderation, let's caveat that. I do not want you spending hundreds of dollars on random things that, just if you're buying it just to buy it, that is not self-care. If you're investing in yourself in some way, that can be self-care. For myself, I do a monthly massage. Monthly massage are essential for my self-care. It helps me physically, it helps me mentally unwind. I just love it. They like, have somebody walk on top of me. I don't care. Like, I love it all. Also my nails. I know they're a frivolous expense. It's one of the frivolous expenses that I thoroughly enjoy every aspect of it. I love picking the design out. I love having, adding my little massage where they get to rub up all on my feet and my hands. I love it, every aspect of it. I'm willing to pay the money because I enjoy the process and it just fills my cup so intensely. Everything else, like I'll do my own eyebrows, I'll cut my own hair sometimes, whatever it is, I don't really care. But my nails, that's my self-care piece that I will not give up unless I desperately have to. So, again, what does that look like for you, right? And really assess within yourself, does it create a sense of joy? And is it a necessity, right? If it's not a necessity, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be. But if we're going to large extents to do something that is not bringing us joy in the process, spending lots of money, right? This is like our shoppers, right? Some people shop just to shop because it quells their anxieties for a few minutes or even a few hours. But what happens then is the high of shopping goes away and then we're back to square one. It never filled our cup, it just kind of put a mask over it for a little while. So try to be careful with the treating yourself category because it can definitely be where we're going too far. Okay. The last big category of self-care that I wanted to talk about is what I consider community and culture. Especially for those from our minority communities like myself, this is a huge aspect of our identities and it's a huge aspect of how we get our cup to be filled. So celebrating culture is one of the big things, right? I'm Latina through and through. Everybody knows it. I look white as hell. I get it. But for me, like, I am Latina and there's no question about it. It's who I am. It's in my blood. I love everything about my culture and my community. So when I get opportunities to celebrate that, going to, different marquetas, going to, different opportunities where I get to embrace that identity, it feels like a form of self-care for me and it feels like it's really filling my cup. Um, Another one is connecting with our elders. I love when I get to go over to my grandma's house and she just starts venting about like, todo lo que le pasó en su niñez y su adolescencia and blah 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 blah, right? She's telling me all these stories about her childhood and her adolescence and I just like I feel so connected to my culture and my community through her. Um, like everything, right? Sometimes we're like, ah, Lita, like you don't need to be venting right now. This is not the time or the place. But like I always think, what happens the day that she's not here? I'm gonna be begging and crying and wishing I had heard those stories, right? It's the way I connect with her. It's the way I connect with my people and the people that came before me is hearing these stories and really getting to relive them in a new sense, right? So connect with your grandparents, connect with your parents, connect with your uncles, your tias, your tios. Make sure you're getting that connection within the familial and the community units because they make us feel good, right? They make us feel good to be connected to these people that are so integral into our lives. Um, the last two kind of go hand in hand, which is giving back and supporting your community. Giving back does not necessarily mean financial, right? Not all of us have the means to be able to give money all the time. Or, even some of the times, like your girl be broke sometimes. Um, but what it can mean is like helping out a neighbor. It could mean volunteering for a local organization. I love volunteering for local organizations when I have the opportunity. My husband hated me when he first met me because he's like, "Why we be doing this? Like, we don't need to be volunteering." And I'm like, sorry, you're up for the ride. So I ended up taking him and his friends to go volunteer for like the Compton Initiative in LA. Um, I'd be taking him in the middle of the streets to hand out hygiene packs. Like we'd be doing weird shit, and now he's down for it because he just knows me. But this is a way like I fill my cup. I love giving back to my communities. I love doing things that help me support others. One of the biggest roles that I think I hold is like a mentor. I work with the UCLA Alumni Society, and they have a program. It's called the Orgulloso program. So if you're a Latino or a Latina in UCLA undergraduate program, you can sign up to be a mentor, a mentee, and I get to be the mentor for some of these students, and I just feel so blessed to be a part of it. I feel so blessed to be able to see these young minds like being where they were. I mean, what, 10 years ago now? I feel so old, but you being where they were and being able to see like they're going through such similar struggles that I went to so long ago and being able to be that ear that I didn't have, right? I didn't have anybody to listen to me or to be that shoulder to cry on or to ask questions about FAFSA or whatever it was. And I get to be that for them. And I just feel so honored and blessed to be able to hold that space for them. Um, so I highly recommend it. If you have the opportunity, give back to your community. Even if you don't think you have knowledge to give, you do. I promise you do. So take advantage. Go back to your high school, go back to your middle school, offer support, go to your local nonprofit. There's plenty of opportunities to be involved in your community, and people are begging for that support because what you have to offer is valuable. So please don't underestimate that. It's huge. Um, Another way, again, we're tying it all together, was like the supporting of our communities in the financial aspect. So if you can support small businesses, um, I am a small business owner myself. I own a Hispanic owned and well, a Hispanic inspired athletic brand. It's called Guerra Athletics. So I am a small business owner, and I absolutely love when people support me. It feels like you are filling my cup as a small business owner. So I thrive on not only receiving that, but I give as well. I love supporting small businesses. I buy small all the time. It's a huge aspect of my form of self-care because I love what small businesses can do that a larger brand can't. So it might not be, everybody's cup of tea. Again, I completely understand that. But if you can, and it feels like something that's close to your heart, it's near and dear to you, try, right? Try to, instead of buying your hair ties from Amazon, find a little cute boutique, see if they have something that you can buy. And I promise you 95% of the time the quality is better. So again, it's not for everybody. And again, this is only, I know I hold privilege in being able to afford to spend a little bit more money to support a small business versus going a cheaper route and buying from an Amazon, a Walmart, or Target. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I still do. It just, as much as I can, I try to support our small businesses, especially local in the community, Latino owned, women owned, minority owned, veteran owned. My husband is a veteran, so I definitely try to support veteran owned businesses as well. Um, so again, anything you can do that fills your cup, do it. Um, I know we went through quite a few of them, but try one. just one of these things. See if you can feel like it helps you. If it doesn't, try something else. It's gonna depend on you. Not every self-care item is going to be applicable to you and your needs. You might not find that community fills your cup. And if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. Focus on the areas that you feel like can support you and can give you um, that additional level of fulfillment that self-care is supposed to be doing, right? Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my soapbox moment for the day. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will be pretty much doing episodes every other week. That's the goal. I did want to make a little note for that because I suffer from migraines. It is very difficult for me to sometimes be consistent with those. So I might be a day or two off sometimes, and I would really want to say thank you for everybody that's understanding of that because it can be really debilitating. And I'm trying, again, as an act of self-care to myself, to not put so much pressure to get things done in an exact order, right? That they don't have to be done by this day at this time. Trying to be gracious with myself and understand that my physical health and my mental health have to come first. So I appreciate everybody that is understanding of that and kind of walking on this journey with me as I kind of embrace the self-care for my own well-being. That's kind of the point of this podcast, right? It's called Healing Juntas for a reason because it's not just me speaking um, from clinical experience, but personal experience, and me actually trying these things along the way with you because I want to heal and I want to work towards a healthier lifestyle in all aspects, just as much as I want that for you guys as well. So, again, thank you guys for your support and for listening. I hope you guys have a fantastic couple weeks, and I look forward to our next episode together. Thanks. Bye.